I'm in the end.
Hello, welcome to
Hi.
Wisdom in Menopause.
For menopause and beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond.
And today, Alison has something she'd like to talk about.
I know. Now, those of you that have kind of listened to the tales, that we've done before, I'm a bit of a fan of Sharon Blackie, who wrote Magnitude, which is a great book, so I recommend it. Anyway, so she sends out a weekly email and it's really interesting. And I would say there was a kind of week when it felt to me like there were a load of negative stories coming out about menopause, about the necessity of having HRT and that we couldn't manage it on our own and all this kind of stuff like that. Anyway, there was a bit of a breath of fresh air arrived in my inbox, and she was talking, and what she called it, she said, a manifesto for thriving at midlife. And I just thought, yeah, that sounds good. So I read through. So she's got 22 different sessions. Anyway, like the one in the middle. So the one that she talks about, she says, midlife years are often filled with uncertainty as the old story disintegrates and the new one emerges. And she says the trick is not to push too hard, to let the new story emerge in its own time. For me, that feels a bit like that snake when you're shedding the old skin and you're coming out, and the snake that was looking a bit dusty and a bit scraggy, and it comes out, it's all beautiful and shiny and new, that kind of thing. And so
perhaps we need a trigger warning on this.
Okay,
we may mention snakes.
But yes, sorry, oops, I've just done it. But yeah, so she says uncertainty is the antidote to our need to know, predict, and control. And I love this. Whether you like to or not, you're not going to be able to manage your way out of your middle of transition, and look at uncertainty as your ally. And I actually kind of thought that's a really good point, because me. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a control freak. Actually, I wouldn't say I'm a control freak. But that thing of those times of living in uncertainty, when things have been uncertain, and I haven't been. There have been certain times when I have realized I can't do anything about this situation. I'm not in control of this. I can't do this. I'm just going to see how it turns out. So it's that thing that I think we often are pushed into, that thing of, I want to know about this. I must know about this. Then I can control it. If I can have a diagnosis, then I can control it. Then I can do something about it. But actually, what if the real skill is just to sit with that uncertainty and see where it takes us?
Well, it is an interesting dichotomy that everybody wants the adventure. Everybody wants to surf on the wave, but they always want to know exactly how long the wave is, how big the wave is, what it's going to feel like, and will they be able to do it, by which time they don't want to do it.
And they're back on the beach.
Because they want the uncertainty. So it's a very interesting human condition that we want complete control, and then we're really bored. So we want the job where nobody can sack us and we get a good pension, but we don't want the job where we want a different thing. So it is that riding that surf and enjoying the uncertainty that you might fall off.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very interesting reminder, because people want the first thing people talk about is this where you're going to live for the rest of your life, or are you going to move? Yes. When are you going to retire? I get that a lot, and you think, well, never, because I've got no money, so that's not going to work. But people say, when are you going to? It's almost like you've got to this point, and there's expected sort of norms and hits. And I've never been very good at that.
No,
and I cannot plan a holiday a month in advance, because it makes my teeth itch. I just can't.
But I love it because for me, as soon as I've planned it and I've put it in the diary,
2 words,
then I'm on holiday.
No, planning a holiday is, well, what if you get there and you get a chest infection and don't want to do it?
It won't happen.
It's kind of just like riding the wave of uncertainty, and making the fact you don't know your friend, because we don't know. So what if I run out of money when I get to this age? What if the house falls down on my ears? What? And that's how people cash in on your life. pretty much, by giving you that insurance. So I think just the general welcoming of uncertainty, and then we get changes, big changes, like having a baby, changing jobs, moving house, where we think this is going to be bad because it's a big change that I know that I've got happening. But we sort of brace ourselves, go through it, and it's brilliant. But when it hits us, we're not quite so well ready, are we? Like menopause, like changes that happen to us that we haven't chosen.
Yeah, and I like that idea of you've got to wait for the new story to emerge, because we often do talk about the fact that whatever happens, you know, at the end of perimenopause, when you get to suddenly you're in postmenopause, you're a different person. You're a different person, but in a way, you're more of the same. You're more of who you were. There's more of your true essence there. There's more of you, because you haven't got all of that other stuff. But you kind of, in a way, it depends what bit of yourself you're going to take forward.
But that's true, absolutely true of menopause. But it is also so true of so much of our life where we've gone through it. Where we've gone through adversity, or we've gone through other changes, and you think it's always me that's come out the other side. But I can bring a bitter, angry me, or I can bring an insightful me, or I could have enabled me to go off studying and the more intellectual me, or it may have made me give up study and become a more stupid me, whatever it is. But there's always the me that's come out of it that's been kind of honed and crushed in a positive way. I mean, I hate that idea that we're supposed to be really unhappy so we can be better people, but that's not true. But it's just these changes that happen that instead of thinking we have to control it and be something, or whether we just think, I wonder what happens at the end of this.
And it's a midlife transition. It's a transition from one healthy state to another healthy state, but it's midlife. It's not end of life. It's not 75% through life. It's midlife, you know, in kind of normal circumstances. So there's a lot beyond, which is why we talk about menopause and beyond, because there's actually a hell of a lot more beyond than there is in menopause. It's, you know, perimenopause.
You just remind me of something that Wayne Dyer used to talk about in some of the speeches that I've seen, where he said, I have had many lives and many bodies. And he said, because every 7 years your cells completely change. So he said, I have had a body, as I have, that's this big. I've had a body that's this big. I've also had a body that had different attributes. So he talks about me, where he said, I used to have a lot of hair. He said, I've now grown taller and my hair didn't grow with me, so now I don't have it. But he said, these changes to our bodies that happen, which at menopause for us women is a big one, but actually it's this constant sort of bubbling happiness that we are changing all the time. And we've got new opportunities to change and grow. And I quite like the fact that, well, this is the body I have right now. It will change again. But instead of worrying about and preferring the one I had 5 years ago, that's not really an option. So it's like, let's roll with it.
But I think that's that thing. And I do, you know, uncertainty for me is a bit of a project, actually learning to be in uncertainty. And I just do know that sometimes it just is necessary. You know, there have been times when I've just kind of looked at the situation and I you know, it's not been all the time, but it is that kind of thing of, I have no idea how this is going to turn out.
Can you choose uncertainty? So like, when you have uncertainty, so can you think, I could just roll with, I'm going to embrace it when I don't have to?
That's a big challenge.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
I know. So
perhaps we should try it.
Are we going to come back to that one, are we? Because you know, it's that difference. All right. So for me, it's a bit like, you know, we bought the camper van. We bought the camper van in January, and we have been out on a few trips and a few things like this. but we've always gone knowing that we're going to go to a campsite at the end. So although we have that, the freedom of the road, is the possibility. At the moment, we've always said, oh, right, we're going to end up here or here or here. And at some point, I feel like we have to graduate to, this is kind of the road that we're going to take. No, but no, stick with me, go with me here. I'd like to say we're going to go to Scotland, okay? And just say we're going to stop wherever. So that would be the next stage. We have a kind of general, but we don't book the places along the way. So that I feel like we'd have to grow into that.
Yeah. So it's perhaps just challenging yourself wherever that is.
Yeah.
Of one step more.
I'm not going to go from I need to book a campsite to I'm just going to drive, we're just going to drive it off the stand and we're not going to even know where we're going at all.
But that might be step
two. I think that might be step 5.
So come back at the end of step 4 and we will do step 5.
Yeah.
That sounds like a
but
thing.
For now,
have
a look at uncertainty.
Embrace the uncertainty and maybe introduce a little bit, just a little bit of uncertainty, because I think it's a habit. And I think, like a lot of habits, it's just nice to have a variation on a habit sometimes. Might be good. We'll see.